Now students, let us see the operational working principle of the flux shelted metal arc welding. Now see the name, flux shelted metal arc welding. Flux shelted means what? The flux is been shelted or covered by the gaseous shelter. Shelter means what? The cover is been given over here. Now first see the operation, how it is been started. The electrode is been held by the electrode holders. The holder is been used for holding the electrode holder, and that holder is been connected to by the wire or the high voltage wire to a transformer, and second point is connected to the workpiece, that is an earthing. Okay, now the transformer may be either AC or the DC power supply, so you can use the AC or the DC power supply. If the metal thickness is higher, so you can use for the larger thickness a DC power supply, or if the thickness is smaller, so you can use the AC power supply of the transformer. Just it depends on the thickness of the metal which you are going to be joined. AC or DC power supply is to be utilized so that the generation of the heat can be produced more by supplying the more power supply. Now when this connection is been done, now the electrical circuit, it works just like an electrical circuits. When the holder with an electrode is been slightly touched to the workpiece, initially you have to touch the electrode to the workpiece, the spark will be ignited. When the spark will be ignited, why the spark is going to be ignited? Because the circuit is been closed. When the electrodes come to the contact to the workpiece, the circuit is been closed. When the circuit is been closed, the electrodes which are moving in this circuit are been collapse with each other or dashes with each other. Due to that dashes, the spark is been generated over here between the workpiece and the electrodes. Once the spark is been ignited, the slight once normal arc is been generated. Once the arc is been generated, you have to maintain some distance between the electrodes and the workpiece. Near about 2 mm to 3 mm gap is been made between the electrode and the workpiece. As the arc starts to generate over here in a continuous flame wise, this electrode starts to melt over here, as well as it also starts to melt the workpiece. The workpiece starts to melt over here. The solid workpiece is converted into a liquid form, and this electrodes also starts to melt over here. Both the molten electrodes and the workpiece are been fused with each other. Fused means what? Both the liquid metals are been mixed with each other. Now over here in this welding processes, this electrode is a consumable electrode. Consumable electrode means what? This electrode is going to be melt and mixed with the metal, liquid metal of the workpiece. Now you can see this electrodes having an tungsten rod inside, which rod is been pasted with the flux material. Okay, flux material. Which are the flux material? Calcium fluoride and cellulose and iron oxide. These are the flux materials which are being coated with this electrodes. This flux material, what does this flux materials do? This flux material generates an gas, create an gas, okay, and the gases create an gas, or you can say the gases are being released by this flux material and revolves or protect the arc by revolving the surrounding towards the arc. It makes these gases make one kind of shelter to this arc. This shelter is being used so in such a way that any of the atmospheric contaminant or any of the atmospheric other gases or the other particles that should not mix in this molten metal, okay, of the electrodes and the metal, any other contaminant should not mix. That is been avoided by this gaseous shelters. For that reason, this flux shelter metal arc welding is been used. Then afterwards, as this electrodes is been starting from this point it is been start for coming. When it's past some distance, okay, this portion which is initially in the liquid form, or the weld is been deposited, this electrode is been deposited on this surface, okay. Then after, when it's come over here, the temperature of this portion and this portion is different. Over here the temperature is very high because the arc is continuously generating. Over here the temperature is very low. When the temperature decreases over here, when this portion comes to the contact with the atmosphere, this portion starts to solidify. Over here the molten metal starts to solidify and the weld starts to deposit over here, okay. Then the some of the impurities within the metal and the electrodes are been coming out and floats at the upper side of the depositor, okay, or the welding bed, that is called as a slag. Then afterwards, once the welding is been completed with the chipping hammer, the hammer is been used, which is been the blow of that chipping hammer is been given at the upper surface of this welding rod, and this slag is been removed out. All the carbon contents of the slags are been removed out, and you will get the fine and fresh welding joint of the two workpieces. So dear students, this is what the simple operation of the flux shelted metal arc welding is been done, or the welding process is been carried out.